Hey everyone, Wanderbot here, and welcome back to the Steam Monster Summer Sale, I guess, sale video? I don't know, I still need to brand this thing. That probably might not happen until Christmas, but anyway, so let's just hop right in because there's an insane amount of things to cover today. First and foremost, we're going to talk about Witcher. Witcher 1, 2, and 3 are all on sale. Witcher 1 and 2 are on sale for 85% off at $1.50 and $3 a piece. At that price, if you really like long-form RPGs, both are absolutely wonderful. They're a bit clunky, but the role-playing section of it is amazing. They've got some of the best story I've ever run into in a game, and in a game series, and they're just an absolute joy to play. Unfortunately, the combat system needs a little bit of work, and there are bits of like low polish here and there, but it's very obvious that both Witcher games are labors of love. Now, there's also an adventure game. I've never played it. I can't really have an opinion on that one. The last one is Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. It is 10% off at $54. This is not much of a sale. However, I highly recommend the game if you liked Witcher 1 and 2 or Dragon Age Inquisition. It plays very similarly to Inquisition, which is great because that wildly addresses the kind of poor combat and controls in the previous one. It still has a little bit of clunkiness here and there, but it's overall very fun and very playable, and I'm going to be playing that one for quite a while. It is a massive game. That said, $6 off, not exactly a deal. I still highly recommend it, but if you're looking for a sale, you can wait. CD Projekt Red very quickly puts their games on sale for much cheaper than just 10% off. So if you're patient, around Christmas you might be able to get it for as low as like $30-40. Okay, next up is the Wolfenstein franchise. I've never actually played any of the older Wolfenstein, so I can't really speak to them, but chances are if you're a modern gamer and you're not really interested in the series, I'd skip them. That said, Wolfenstein New Order and Wolfenstein Old Blood are some of the better single-player shooters, story-based shooters to come out of the last couple of years, and are highly recommended. I've played a little bit of the first one and haven't played the second one at all, but Old Blood is kind of like a standalone expansion, but I've played a little bit of New Order, haven't played Old Blood yet, but they're very similar, and they are wonderful. You're dual-wielding all sorts of crazy guns, including sniper rifles. I'm not entirely sure why, but you know what? It just kind of gets that camp that I personally wanted out of Duke Nukem Forever and never got. So, I don't know, props to them. They managed to take an old and more or less dead franchise and bring it back into actually something new, unique, and a lot of fun. Okay, next up is Wasteland 2. Wasteland 2 it's a CRPG, kind of in the style of like Fallout or Baldur's Gate. I have not had the chance to play it yet, just because it's a very long-form RPG. But from what I've heard from Slashworks and a couple other friends, it is really fun to play and absolutely worth picking up. That said, at a price tag of 50% off with at a sale of 50% off, $20 whatever. It's a little bit steep. So again, if you're on a shoestring budget, you could probably wait maybe another year and it'll go down to $5 or $10. We're getting into a lot of sales here. Oh yeah, I don't think I even mentioned the price for Wolfenstein. Yeah, Wolfenstein New Order is $15 and Old Blood is $10. But for Witcher, Wolfenstein, and Wasteland, WWW, all of them are, I would say, wait if you're a deal hawk. That said, if you want to support the developers and everything like that, all of them are worth it at pretty much any price. So there's that. Okay, next up is Democracy 3. Haven't played it. NBA 2K15. Haven't played it either. I'm not going to give an opinion on those because that would be unfair. Next up, The Forest. So I played this game back when it came out. It had hideous performance issues and was generally barely functional, and you couldn't even save. And there were some pretty lulzy things that you could do as a result, but it ultimately felt like kind of a weak product. From what I can tell, looking at the patch notes and stuff like that, they patch this game almost every week. They're adding, procedural building multiplayer, tweaks in multiplayer functionality stuff. And I should probably actually talk about what the game is, come to think of it. So The Forest is kind of like what would happen is it's what would happen if you took DayZ and put it into a kind of like a single player or a small co-op scenario where it's very player versus the environment. There's no PvP elements or anything like that. And as a result, it's actually kind of fun. It's a good thing if you want to get into like sandbox survival games without having to deal with other players. And as somebody that's only marginally tried DayZ or similar games, it's not very fun just getting your shit kicked in by a couple of well-armed individuals. Instead, you have to deal with a roving tribe of cannibals out to eat you, as well as I think you're trying to save your kid, but I don't actually know if they actually have saving the kid as part of the game yet. You just have a kid in the beginning, and then that's the extent of it. But it features building, traps, and stuff like that. Honestly, a price tag of $10, I'm not entirely sure I recommend it unless you really like stuff like DayZ or Stomping Grounds or Ark or whatever. But at that point, probably play Ark. I've heard very good things about that one, assuming they fixed their performance issues and server-side issues along the way. The nice thing about it, though, it is multiplayer. So if you wanna play a sandbox game with friends and not have to worry about the PvP element, the Forest is probably a pretty good choice. Okay, moving on. Hitman franchise. At 80% off across the board, you can buy the entirety of the Hitman Collection for $8. If you've never tried a Hitman game, this is about as good of a time to get it. The Hitman Collection, I believe, includes every single Hitman game released on Steam. And that's a very good price, and you're going to get a lot of gameplay out of it. It's kind of like a sort of sneaking game, where you're effectively given a target, you have to go shoot them. But there's a lot of guards, there's a lot of like pathing and multiple ways to effectively solve the puzzle of how to kill a person. And I've heard very good things about the series. I've only played a small amount just because I don't have the patience. I'm more of kind of a run and gun type dude, and that doesn't work very well. But no, the Hitman games are really good. And if you're looking for a really good deal, bang for your buck, I think as far as today goes, the Hitman franchise is the best deal you can possibly get today. Okay, moving on. Depth. Depth is a lot of fun, assuming you can have friends to play it with. It's okay with other people, like just kind of random online multiplayer, but it's definitely not nearly as good if you can't, yell things like, "I'm a shark, rah, rah, rah," at people as you're, coming out of nowhere to eat them. So the entire premise of the game is 2 players play as sharks, 4 players play as divers. Divers are trying to collect treasure. Sharks are trying to kill the divers. It's pretty simple, but that said, it's actually one of the better, slightly, I'm not going to say asynchronous competitive multiplayer, but it's like, the 2v4 element is kind of cool, and the fact that it's part shooter, part not shooter, really entices me, and I have an absolute blast anytime I ever play as the shark. Unfortunately, I haven't gotten to play it in a while, so there's kind of that, and I'd love to play it again. But that said, this, with a price tag of $10, it's a little bit steep, but considering the price is normally $25, that's not bad. If you got 3 other friends that want to play with you, the 4-pack is actually a fairly good deal for the amount of fun that you can get out of this. That said, again, something that you could probably wait on for a better deal, buy more copies, hand them to more people. But I definitely recommend this at some point in your gaming career, assuming you have people that you could play with, because you will get a lot of fun out of this game. Okay, next up, This War of Mine. Have not played a whole heck of a lot of this one, but I've seen a lot, and I've listened to the developer talk quite a lot. This game is, it's kind of like, I want to say, if you played Walking Dead and you were disappointed that you didn't get to do a whole lot of the, like, survival, divvying out food, finding resources, that sort of thing. I don't think there are actually zombies in this one. I think there are other people. Yeah, they're like snipers and hostile scavengers, not zombies. But the entire premise is, like, you have a small group of people, and you have to keep them alive during some kind of, like, mysterious war. And it's really, really good. It is currently at a historical low. It's never been this cheap before, and with a price tag of $8 for the amount of quality put into this game, I think it's like a 2-person developer. No, I think it's a slightly larger studio, but still, this is an absolute wonderful game, assuming that you have the emotional fortitude to get through it. And looks like they're actually still updating it. The last big update was back in April, so I guess that was, what, a month and a half back, but still. That's a pretty good thing, that, the game's still being developed. I assume that means more features are on the way, and maybe kind of like expansion packy type stuff too. But the game is wonderful if you can handle extreme, depressing things left and right. Okay, next up is Portal 2. Portal 2, I really shouldn't have to say more about the Portal games. Most people probably should already have Portal 1, considering it was free for a while. And, I mean, it's one of the most famous games to come out of the last decade, I think. Portal 2 is a lot of fun. The single-player story mode is an absolute joy to play through, and the co-op campaign is, assuming you have friends that are willing to, you know, sit through having issues solving puzzles, is actually more fun. I really like the co-op campaign more than the single-player, which is saying something, because the single-player is an absolute dream as far as, like, you know, story, puzzle, humor, whatever. That said, at price tag of $5, it's absolutely worth picking up. I don't think it'll ever go lower. It's got a 2-pack for $8.74, so if you have somebody else to play with, I highly recommend picking up the 2-pack because, well, the game does not just end with you beating, oh, shoot. Yeah, I'm not going to spoil that one. Anyway, you know, the game is just, the game's worth it. The game's absolutely worth it. And if you want to buy Portal 1, it's like, what, $2? Yeah, $2.50. Okay, so I highly recommend picking up every single Portal game right this very second if you've never played them before and do not have them. And honestly, you really want to pick up Portal 1 before Portal 2. There is actually a continuous story there, and it's a good plan to play them in order. Otherwise, the second one doesn't make as much sense. Anyway, let's move on. Lego. So, the Lego franchise pack is currently on sale. Wow. I think it's every single Lego game, too. Some for more, some for less. Okay, so let's just go down the list. First and foremost, Lego Jurassic World actually came out today. I guess, like, a little bit ago. And it's already on 25% off. That said, with a base price of $40, 25% off down to $30, still pretty steep, especially for, you know, the Lego games. The Lego games almost always drop in price very, very quickly, to the point where there's actually, like, you could get the Lego Hobbit within a year for $7.50, which, I mean, is a wonderful price. So, if you're willing to be patient and you're not that big of a movie tie-in fan, waiting on Lego Jurassic World is probably a good plan. That said, as far as movie tie-in games, it's got fairly good reviews, and, I mean, it's got a really high-quality pedigree, so you really cannot go too wrong with it. There's also Lego Worlds, which is currently kind of like a Minecraft Lego sandbox type game. I've heard really good things about it. Unfortunately, currently it's single player, so I would actually generally recommend waiting just a little bit. But if you like Minecraft, Lego Worlds is actually going to be like an absolute dream for you if you liked Legos as a kid too. I'm seeing like a drill vehicle that can actually drill through the environment. Like that shit is cool. But they said they're adding multiplayer at some point, but it's going to take just a little while. I'm probably going to bet like a year or so before you get the chance to play with friends. But when that happens, that's going to be good. Unfortunately, it's not on sale, but $50 price tag isn't terrible. Let's see. Next, there's the Lego Batman games, all of which are at 75% off. So $5, $5, and $7.50. $7.50 for Batman 3, or you can buy the trilogy for $12.50. These are all damn good games and worth picking up. Honestly, like, I'm going to say this about every single Lego game, they're all absolutely worth picking up at the price that they are. Lego Marvel Superheroes, I think, is better than the Lego Batman games, but only marginally so, and that's $5. If you're looking to get into the Lego series, I'd probably say Lego Marvel Superheroes is the way to go. There's also Lego Pirates of the Caribbean, which, I mean, Lego Pirates of the Caribbean and Indiana Jones 1 and 2 and the Harry Potter games, not quite as good, but they're still worth picking up. Like, if you have somebody else to play with and or kids, these games are the way to go. And then there's Lego Star Wars. Like, at this point, just, yes, buy whatever you want. Pick your favorite series, buy one of the games, wait for the next sale, pick another one up. I would say the highlight would be Lego Marvel Superheroes at $5, and the sheer cast of characters that you can play in the game, that's the one to go with. Because I don't want to talk about Lego for too long. Okay, Child of Light. Child of Light is a bit of an acquired taste, from what I've heard. Like, you do kind of lose momentum after a certain point playing the game. It can drag on a little bit long, but that said, as far as Ubisoft games go, this is actually one of the better games I've heard of. It apparently has local co-op. I did not realize that. I have no idea how that works. But so the entire premise is it's a 2D side-scrolling platformer with turn-based sort of JRPG style combat. It's actually a really unique game, and has massive critical acclaim. and the visual style is great. I think it's also at a historical low of 374. I don't think it's gonna go any lower than this ever. So if you want to pick it up, now is a good time. The DLC is also on sale, but only for 40% off, and there's no Child of Light Game of the Year edition, which is kind of unfortunate. Because if you want to get Child of Light plus all of the DLC, it's gonna run you about $13, which is kind of a shame, but whatever. Pick up the base game and see if you want the DLC. I don't even know what the DLC is. Looks like a Golem quest, extra allies, skins, extra skills. Yeah, kind of bad DLC. You know, the kind that should have actually been in the game, but they decided to price lock it. Oh well. Okay, next up, Grey Goo. Grey Goo released the beginning of the year to extreme critical acclaim. It's a real-time strategy game, kind of in the vein of StarCraft, or probably more likely the old Command & Conquer games. I'd say old Command & Conquer games because all of the new ones sucked. But Grey Goo is actually pretty good. It's completely alien. There's like a lot of really interesting factions along the way, and it's just downright gorgeous. That said, with a price tag of $20 after being 60% off, you can probably wait on this one, especially if you don't have anybody to play with. That said, if you really liked Command & Conquer's, the Command & Conquer games, Red Alert games, or StarCraft, and you're looking for something a little bit fresher, Grey Goo is probably not going to be a terrible idea. It does not look like they are still developing it, though, so, I mean, this is a complete game as it currently stands. But I recommend waiting, but that's just because I personally am going to be waiting on picking the game up as well. Okay, next up, Starbound. Now, Starbound released to a fair amount of critical... A lot of people were looking for space Terraria, and they got Starbound instead, and there was a lot of disappointment. That said, it's still a very good game. There's a lot of stuff in the game that Terraria doesn't have, and it's doing a fairly good job of separating itself out and making things more interesting. There's a fair focus on like exploration, and they've retooled some things to be more interesting. Honestly, I think it's a little bit more beginner friendly than Terraria, with the matter manipulator being your starting item, which is a damn good starting item, and just vastly better combat as far as I'm concerned. And it's also just generally cartoonier and prettier and stuff like that. So I personally recommend it with the price tag of $10. It's probably not going to get lower than this for quite a while, and you can get a 4-pack for $30. I highly recommend it, especially if you have friends that enjoyed playing through Terraria, but, you know, haven't gotten the chance to go back to it or anything like that. That said, Terraria is actually getting a major patch at the end of the month, so I guess it's kind of one of those where it's like, I guess get both, but just don't assume that Starbound's going to be as good as Terraria in the same ways, and just don't try and compare them too hard, otherwise you're going to end up unhappy one way or another. I personally prefer Terraria in terms of the trinkets, but that's a debate for another episode. So, moving on. Last game, Mountain Blade Warband. At 80% off, $4, or if you want to get the full collection, for $15. That's a fairly good price. The Mountain Blade games are very interesting. I haven't played too much of them, but it's a fairly realistic medieval combat simulator, whatever, or in terms of like running around with a group. There are RPG elements. There's a lot of like team management and stuff like that, and it's kind of like an overarching world that you have to, well, you're effectively conquering and stuff like that. I've not played too much of it. In fact, I've never played more than like 10 minutes of sitting down and playing for somebody when he was in the bathroom and didn't realize what was going on. He was not happy about that, but that said, it was actually kind of a fun game. It's kind of like if you took Chivalry and made it single player. Apparently it's got multiplayer. Huh. Oh, okay. Unfortunately, the multiplayer is like a competitive multiplayer. It's got massive multiplayer though. 64-player deathmatch, team deathmatch, capture the flag, conquest, and battle and siege. I was actually really hoping that it would have a cooperative campaign mode, because I think that would be a lot of fun to run around in a warband with buddies. Not so in this game. Oh well. But if you're looking to get into the Mountain Blade games, if you actually buy the warband, you can get all the DLC for cheaper than getting the whole like Mountain Blade full collection. So if you buy just Mountain Blade Warband, like it, then you can get the DLC for not too much more. And they are actually still expanding the game. The last update came 7 months ago, which is the Viking Conquest expansion, which is cool. It means they're still updating the game. It's not very pretty. That is one of the major sticking points for me, but that's because I'm incredibly shallow. Okay. Whew, if that was a mouthful. I literally recommend every single game here. That said, deal-wise, just to recap, things that should be actually bought, given the current sale, highlights include Portal 1 and 2. I highly recommend picking those up. They're absolute must-buys. This War of Mine, at its historical low price of $8, and Child of Light. Also Hitman, if you're interested in that sort of thing. Everything else, you could probably wait on for cheaper prices, but in the case of, like, Starbound and Depth, chances are the prices aren't going to go too much lower too sooner, so they are decent prices to pick the games up at this point in time. Okay, moving on to flash sales. You know what? No, let's do flash sales in a different episode, otherwise this one's going to go on for like 30 minutes, and this way people can kind of slog through it. Because we've got the flash sales and then the Steam Monster Summer Game sales. Oi. Okay, so I'll see you guys in a bit in the flash sale, monster sale episode video thing. I don't even know. Oh, this is going to be a long set of videos. So, see you guys then. And I guess if you want to see more, hit like, helps more than you know, and, you know, tells me you want to see more of these things. And, well, ask me if you want to focus in on any game or just discuss my thoughts on one way or another. Okay, and I'm trying to rush through things because I got more to get through. See you guys on the flash sales video, and as always, thanks for watching.